Westwood One presents the Dr. Demento Show. This week, our annual Halloween special. 2 hours of scary sounds and spooky weirdness from out of the archives and off the wall. Such all-time graveyard greats as Dinner with Drac, Curse of the Hearst Cemetery Girls, They're removing Grandpa's grave to build a sewer, The Haunted House of Rock and the Monster Mash, featuring such stars as John Zachary, Bela Lugosi, Screaming Lord Sutch and Screamin' Jay Hawkins, David Bowie, Peter Sellers, and Bobby Boris Pickett, all joined together to get you in the mood for the Night of the Living Dead, the night when the spirits of those who have gone return to have a little party with us, and we all go hobnobbling with the goblins. The memory of one of the most famous ghosts in all history, the specter of Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, wife of King Henry VIII, who had her beheaded when she displeased him. And as one might expect, the ghost of Anne Boleyn came back to haunt King Henry's castle, but since her head had been chopped off, she had to carry it underneath her arm. It's true. Here's Carol P. Weiss.
In the Tower of London, large as life, the ghost of Anne Boleyn walks, they declare. Anne Boleyn was once King Henry's wife, until he had the axeman bob her hair. Oh yes, he done her wrong long years ago, and she comes back each night to tell him so. With her head tucked underneath her arm, she walks the bloody tower. With her head tucked underneath her arm at the midnight hour. She's going to find King Henry, she means giving him what for. Gets up, she's going to tell him off for having spilled her gore. And just in case the axeman wants to give her an encore, she's got her head tucked underneath her arm. With her head tucked underneath her arm, she walks the bloody tower. With her head tucked underneath her arm at the midnight hour. Along the drafty corridors for miles and miles she goes. She sometimes catches cold, poor thing, it's cold there when it blows. And it's awfully awkward for the queen when she has to blow her nose. With her head tucked underneath her arm.
Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. The late Cisco Murdoch. Do you remember that? The late Marilyn Monroe. I'm not going to sing you happy birthday. We just sang with her head stuck underneath her arm. And that's our Halloween theme. There you go, Vixen. We have to play that at least 3 or 4 times before Halloween. And we're running out of time. So Halloween is coming. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Gatekeeper. Sorry I'm late. Big hammer, tech issues. You know, I was sitting here laughing when I pulled up because give me a 5.5. I know there's a delay. I just want to make sure the sound is good. So I was remembering, I don't know if, just go ahead and say it. So I had an ex once, my ex-husband, who used to say, "Man, you're always late." I said, "Well, if I'm always late, then I'm right on time, aren't I?" And it ended that. So I guess we're right on time tonight. I am sorry that y'all were here. I see that y'all had a nice conversation. Who was doing all the traveling, Lulu? Who was going all over the place? I have not myself been all over the world. I know some people that have been so many different places, and I envy them, but um, I've always seemed to just be happy where I was and trying to take in everything. There's been a definite difference between being in the north and the south, and a little bit out west. And I love the different um, feel of the different, states and things like that. I think the years of cultivation at different parts, like say Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where you have all the Amish and, the feel of that, or you have, in Santa Fe, in New Mexico, just all the different places. And when you say those words like Montana, or you think Seattle, or New York City, or New York State, even. There's a lot of people who every time you say New York, they think the city, New York City, which is such a small, tiny, 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 tiny bit of a huge state, New York. And New York State is, you can go up into New York State and it's just like you'd think you're in the country, So Tennessee, hey Mud, how you doing? It's wonderful. I love Tennessee. It's beautiful, beautiful. And what's happened there recently has just been awful. And I've tried to stay in contact with a lot of people out there to make sure they're still doing okay, as well as can be anyway. But I hope you were far, far away from all that mess. But yeah, beautiful. I love the mountains, love nature, love, love, love the whole thing that we just went through with Cabin 22. If you guys were here for that, thank you. That's one of the reasons tonight I'm doing the Haunted Inns, because I couldn't do a deep dive. And again, you have a lot of stuff planned for Halloween way ahead of time. People get sick, or somebody in their family gets sick, or some other kind of thing happens, and stuff, schedules get shifted. So I try to keep some of these in the pocket, just in case, so we can have an interesting show to talk about. At least learn some things and be entertained at the very least. See some really great ghost stories, and you never quite tire of those. And we do them year round, because you're always here, here for it. But when you get to Halloween, it's almost like, well, you want to do so much different. You want to do a different dive here. You want to take a different angle, like maybe Halloween crimes that happened, on Halloween. We've done all of those. And it just comes down to, sometimes you just want a nice, decent ghost story, some ghost tales and some legends. And, we kind of laugh at how some of these people that are either in the museums or in the bed and breakfast, or the head of the hotel, or the head of the restaurant, whatever it may be that's haunted, they come out and they have this big explanation about, the chair pulled out, or the beer bottle went off the bar, or the doors opened up, or the pans flew off into the kitchen, or whatever it may be. Well, that's John. John does this because he doesn't like this, this, and this, and that. And they build this whole big story around what could be 5 or 6 different ghosts, or maybe not John at all. Maybe John's past. So I think that's, it never gets old saying that you have to kind of step back from it, even though you love the story. You have to go, how did you come to that conclusion? Because if it's not John, and it's Betty or Bob, or a combination of whoever, multiple different people, or not a person at all, you're really doing an injustice to this ghost who's going, I'm not John. Dang it. Maybe that's why he's banging at cabinets. You know what I mean? So I think it's interesting to look at these, and for any paranormal investigator, or if you're just interested in the metaphysical and how energy works, I think studying individual ghost stories and experiences that are supposedly true anyway, reportedly true, let's put it that way, that is the best learning tool there is, other than having your own experience. But think about this. Having your own experience What happens when you have abilities? Like, say you're a fantastic medium for everybody else, total strangers walking up in the grocery store, and all of a sudden you're getting clear messages from their loved ones for them, or whatever your ability may be. When it comes to you and your family or your loved ones or some your close friends, pets, your life, it's near impossible for you to use your abilities to help you through that. You can use your intuition. That's different. Your abilities. And there seems to be a stoppage there. And I always marveled at that. And I think I told Steve one night, we were talking, and I said, it's almost like whoever's got the wheel to this thing, who's ever driving, who's ever writing the rules or whatever, however you want to describe it. It's so interesting that you would not be allowed to use your abilities, or maybe it has nothing to do with being allowed, or it's a rule or something like that. Maybe it just doesn't work because you have something blocking it yourself. Interesting thought, right? Is it because you have worry or fear or emotions of, oh my gosh, anxiety, and that blocks your ability? Think about that. Or is it a rule where, you don't get to cheat and use your ability to sort this issue that you have to sort in life like everybody else? It's an odd question. And I think about that because, well, it's not an odd question. It's an odd situation to think about. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's a combination of those things, that abilities that you have would be blocked by your emotion at the situation you're involved in or your loved one? It's very interesting to think about, because it does seem that those emotions, those thoughts, those intents, those feelings all have a definite impact. If something is small and is simplistic, let's just put it that way, simplistic, as the story I told you about. Do you remember the story I told you about? Oh, good, Mud. I'm glad to hear it, honey. So the story I told you about where he almost cursed this total stranger that had a car accident. It seemed like the guy had can't hear, several DUIs, the write-up in the paper, the young man was reading it, and he was so mad because he was a father, and he was struggling with stuff he was going through, and his emotions were running hot, and he's reading this out loud at breakfast, whatever, in the newspaper, and reading about the accident the day before that had happened not far from him at a four-way stop, something like that. A guy was DUI, he ran into a car, killed a young family, if I remember correctly. And he's reading it out and says the guy's name, and he's cursing this guy. How stupid could he be? And yada, yada, yada. And he's just going off. And somehow those words, that emotion, tethered this earthbound spirit who had been driving that car, who had been driving drunk, passed in the accident, and was hanging around I'm doing this like the ghost caught on CCTV. You see, like, going around the car and around the corners and just doing this erratic behavior. That's what my hand was doing. And they're just hanging around that corner area or whatever. And maybe when this guy is reading the paper at breakfast the next day, he's saying this guy's name and connecting to this guy's energy. This ghost gets attached. Now he's angry. He's attached and tethered to this guy. I guess you could say he almost cursed his name, cursed himself at the same time. So if we remember those things, that words have power, words can be spelled, spelling. We can think a lot differently about the other question of whether our emotions, something that simple of, oh my gosh, is my person that I care about, going into a bad situation, or how can I sort this out? You know, is this the right person for me, or should I take this job, or whatever it may be? Yeah, I think the answer is yes to both. Yes, your emotions can block things. And many times we've talked about I try to be so careful about it because grief is such a personal thing. But I try to tell people, if you're grieving, you have to send up good emotions as well. Hey, Stocktons, how you doing? Is Holden listening? Hello, Holden. Hey, Jogger. Holden. Is he kicking? For some reason, he hears my voice, he starts kicking. So, I don't blame him. So, I just thought that was interesting. And recording these and trying to put some of these together for the Haunted Inns, I was thinking, wow. All right, what a concept. Now think about this. You have hotels, and Steve and I have talked about this too. You've got all these, you talk about apartment buildings where certain different people are living in, and families living in, and having emotions and fights and love and birthday parties and, you know, angry disputes and everything else inside of their four walls, which is inside of it, encased in an outer building filled with lots of these cubicles full of all this emotion. Think about it. Over and over and over again, and constantly changing out. Apartment buildings. Crazy energy. Okay. Hotels. These little on the side of the road hotels where you have like these strip hotels where there's like maybe 30 in a row. I think we called those motels a couple weeks ago. Is that correct? I could be right. I think it was a motel because they were, I don't know, there's some kind of rules with hotel motel. If you think about large hotels like the Stanley in Colorado, is that correct? Colorado, I think it is. The one that King wrote inspired The Shining. This is on a mountain kind of all by itself, high atop of, like a big ski resort type of deal. Isolated by itself, huge building. I think that would probably come under almost the same as the apartment buildings with all the cubicles, because now all the rooms are enclosed in a small building. Do you see where I'm going with this? And I think the energy is different and manifests different. And I think would be even more erratic in one of these long drawn out ones with all the people going in and out than encased in a building with people going in and out. Because if you look, I know this sounds so weird, but I was thinking so hard on this today. It's crazy, but it helps me to try to understand how energy affects energy and how it's manifesting and how it's also drawing energy and able to manifest based on the type of structure it's in and how much interchanging energy is going on there. Are you following me so far? Are you tracking me? You tracking me? Okay. So in something like the Stanley, think like apartment building, but it's also encased in this, how do I put it? Almost like a feeling. It's encased in this image. It's encased in a idea. Okay. Every lodge, every hotel that's similar to, like I said, the Stanley or something big like that, and these big built castle type thing would be the same, I think, as long as there was movement and a lot of rooms and stuff and people going in and out. It has an ambiance. So when you go to the Stanley, as you're going up the hill, you start to feel that. You start to be encased in that feeling, in that air, in that whatever they're presenting as its character. And then within that are these cubicles of people going in and out and blah, blah, blah. But it has a character wrapped around it. And I think that's the difference in the inns and the hotels that are like that than these modern, more, glitzy, mirrored, chrome type things. When it has an ambiance, and a history. And the smaller it gets, I think the stronger that can get. And I think the ghosts and spirits that come back and forth and visit, where like it's historical, or you're talking about them. So, how many different guests have we had on this show, like at the Hoover House and everything else, where they're reconstructing, and the owners of that house come back because they're interested in what you're doing. They're interested because you're talking about them. They're interested because you're bringing up their history and you're finding things they want to be found, stuff like that. Very much like Eric and Unseen Paranormal working on the Night House, or our friends at Keystone Paranormal working on the Hoover House. Same concept, no, but larger. Because when you have places like the smaller bed and breakfasts that have a history, either a crime scene, a legend of some sort, any kind of unaliving, or anything of that kind, where the story is being told, like a Lizzie Borden house, a Villisca axe murder house, you name them all. We could go in infinitum. Those are a little bit more self-contained, and I think a little more driven by the constant telling of the stories, if you get my drift. Like, say, at Ford's Theater. I know that's not a hotel, but at Ford's Theater, they're constantly telling about this shooting of the assassination of Lincoln and John Wilkes Booth, and the jump off the balcony, and Sic Semper Tyrannis and all that mess, right? And if you're constantly repeating that, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks, I think you're kind of creating an energy as well as summoning an energy. Maybe not in exactly the same way as you would if you were like talking about a loved one on their birthday, or a loved one when you pick up an ornament and put it on the tree and you're talking about them and they connect in because of that love connection. It's a whole different combo. It's a whole other communication. It's not riding on the energy of love. It's riding on an energy of familiarity. Something that earthbound spirit is connecting into, recognizes. You tracking me here? This is wild if you think about it, because people have a tendency to say ghosts and paint it all with a great big brush. And they forget all of these little nuances of why. Why is this B&B haunted? Is the B&B haunted by Max, who, broke his neck falling down the stairs, like the legend says? Or is it, Jacob, who, God bless him, hit a tree down the road and was just drawn here because of the light? If we just assume everything out of the gate, what are you learning? And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of this stuff can't be proven, because we keep jumping to all these conclusions, and the story might be bigger. We're trying to pack it all into our box and fit it in there. The story could be so much bigger. So I grabbed a couple. I thought we've always liked grabbing some like short little local news, and I've got a couple from a couple of the shows on that we hadn't seen before, which I thought was interesting, because they're hard to get, from the 80s, 90s, whatever, and we hadn't seen them in all the years we've been doing this. So now we might have heard some that might be familiar, but some of these were brand new to me, because there seems to be no end to the amount of haunted hotels and haunted inns that are out there. Now, why inns? As I explained about the Great Big Stanley, because if you've never seen pictures of that thing, it's massive. It's massive. It looks like a sanatorium or whatever you want to call it. It looks like one of these wild, wacky, doctor can cure this insert disease here, and wacky, not ever going to work, could never work, weird experiment on this end. You know what I mean? There's a lot of those. And I think we did a couple of those with, when we were doing castles. There was a couple that, doctors that had like these tuberculosis retreats up in the mountains. I think there was another one that president, what's his name? The one had the polio. Which one was it that had the polio? Was it Roosevelt? Gosh, I'm going blank. But you know what I mean. He went there for treatment. Some kind of salt mineral springs thing, haunted as all get out. So anyway, inns. I think, as I stated, that ambiance that something has, that a property has, that story. Thank you, sweetheart. FDR, thank you. Roosevelt, thank you, Vixen. Thank you, Henry. And I just think it's a kind of neat concept to think about. Is it because it's more intimate and smaller? May or may not be, depending on what you think smaller is. 50 rooms compared to 500 is what I kind of mean. Or maybe 10 rooms, like a bed and breakfast. I think it's so interesting because I think it's the staff there too. I think it's the people that work there. We had Michelle Hamilton on. She's a docent for George Washington's mother's house. Mary was also a Mary. And she's extremely into this, as she's got to say some on the shows that she's been on here. And how much she feels that when she talks about them, they show up. And Eric has said the same thing. Think about all the stuff he told us about, they were there. It's almost like they're showing him, look here, this is here. They notice when he changes wallpaper or fixes something. It's cool. But I don't think they're stuck. I think a lot of these that we're going to hear tonight are, in some ways. And we can talk about that as we go. Before we do, I wanted to thank you again for being here for Cabin 22. Henry, you weren't here last night, and you said you might be able to. Did you get to finish Cabin 22? What did you think? The ending was the hootenanny, wasn't it? I'm telling you what. That story, I think it's very apropos for the time, if you ask me. And I would have to say, wow, that's strong. Apple cinnamon. Wow, got a kick. I hope it doesn't choke me like that tiger one did. Woo, man, I couldn't get over that. That was tough stuff. But yeah, I think it's the spirits knew what they were doing when they put that story together. Yep. Quite a few twists. Yeah, it had some twists, didn't it? Tater turned out okay. Had it got him an apple orchard. I think him and Elda might have a little something going on. It's nice. They have picnics and lunches and stuff like that. Yeah, we had to finish. I hate when you read a story and you have no idea how things turned out. So I tried to find a way to end it to where you'd be satisfied with an ending, but it could continue on too. So that's kind of nice. All right. So our first one, let's see, where are we going to go first? Let's do a short one. Most of these are like 2-3 minutes. They're local news, because I'm telling you, there is no end to the local news Halloween specials. Hey, let's go to the Haunted Inn where, so-and-so haunts the place, forever looking for his leg or whatever it may be. You know how the goofy they are. But within these stories, there's a lot of good stuff. So let's start with this one in no particular order. Oh, this girl. Okay, here we go. This one is the Haunted History Hotel, the Alex Johnson Hotel.
South Dakota is swimming in haunted history today. Hotel Alex Johnson is regarded as one of the most haunted hotels in the state. Our Mimi Herrick is alive to learn more about the ghosts that roam those haunted halls.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning, Coda Territory. It is a beautiful day to be down at the Alex Johnson. It is the first day of October, so we are kicking off some of these haunted locations with one of the most haunted hotels in Rapid City and in South Dakota. I am here with Mitch, who is the general manager of the Alex Johnson. And so can you tell me a little bit about
those beams
history?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for being here first and foremost. We love to lean into our haunted history here and really play into it. So I don't want to tell the actual story. I think 6:45 in the morning might be a little too graphic for what we had go on here, but we have a whole book at the front desk, and people love talking about it here. So if you come see the team and read the stories, you'll be able to hear everything that happened back in the day.
And so I read on the website that there are 3 distinct sort of entities that are here. Can you tell me a little bit about each one?
The 3 distinct entities, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know the main one is the lady in white, and that's the one with the story that I did not want to tell on live. I'm not sure what the other 2 are. What'd you read?
I read that Alex Johnson himself likes to hang around the hotel.
Okay, fair. So Alex Johnson and then probably the little girl?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Now, it is October, and I'm sure that means you guys are hosting some spooky events to get into the Halloween feel. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the things that are going on for people who would want to know more and come and experience it for themselves?
Absolutely. Well, year round, we can do our Ghost Adventure package. So you can come stay at the hotel and add on to your room, and you actually get accommodated to one of our haunted rooms. 812 is the most famous one. And you get a K2 meter, so you can ghost hunt like the pros, valet, and some dining credit as well.
Okay, exciting. And would you say that you have any haunted stories?
Yeah, I do. Before I tell that one, I also want to plug our Halloween party really quick, if that's okay. Yeah. So Friday, October 25th, we have our Halloween party, 9 p.m. to midnight. We have it every year. The public knows we go all out for it. We have a DJ and a costume contest as well. So the story I think that I wanted to tell was up at Vertex at the Sky Bar in our little alcove area. Where you can overlook the city. We had a lady that was cleaning a table, and she noticed a reflection of a bald man with glasses in the window. She turned around and nobody was there, and so she got a little spooked out, and she came downstairs to the lobby and said it looked just like the picture of Alex Johnson back there. So I don't know if it's in frame, but spooky stuff.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. Well, thank you so much for being here. Now, is there anything else that people need to know?
Yeah.
Go to the Halloween party. Okay, that's it for that one.
The haunted.
The next one, that's South Dakota. What was this other one? This one's a good one. Let's get a good one up here. I want to be able to tell you the story. What's going on in this inn? I want to save that one. Let's see this one. We'll do another short one and then we'll do a good story. Oh, where'd it go? That's no good. That's no good. All right, let's try again. Pushing buttons. Pushing buttons. God, I hate this. I need to hire that monkey back. Got rid of him. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, here we go. Tell it, girl.
Ghost Tours Pennsylvania has it all this month. Tonight, we explore the eerie history of the Farnsworth House in Gettysburg. Fox 43 photojournalist Corey Asperl descends into the cellar beneath one of the most haunted inns in the West.
I was in this cellar more than once. Farnsworth is great on any floor.
About every place in this house, you can have some kind of experience.
Been plenty of carnage and death that has occurred within these walls and under this roof. And it was an integral part of the Battle of Gettysburg. The upper part of the house was taken over by squads of Confederate sharpshooters during the battle. And down here in the cellar, partially used as a morgue.
I was upstairs doing a tour one night, and I had a group of people. There was a boy, a 15-year-old boy, who was sitting in that back corner, and he started to take pictures all over the attic. One of the pictures, he stopped me while I was doing my talk, and he said, Miss Tiffany, I think you really want to look at this picture. And he said, well, I did. He said, it's a little dot. I thought it was an orb until I zoomed in on it. And when he zoomed in on it, it was actually a picture of a gloved hand, like uniform. One thing over the past couple of years that a lot of people like to come to this house for is the haunted, rather large mirror. And people stand in front of that mirror and they take pictures. I've had 2 pictures that folks on the tours have gotten of a face in that mirror, one of an obvious man and one that we're still trying to determine if it was a man or a woman. We also have a ghost cat. And interestingly, down here, I did have a husband and wife who were sitting in the back of the cellar and they were taking selfies. And in one of the selfies, the husband said, it looks like there's a cat sitting on my wife's shoulder. We looked at the picture, and sure enough, you can see a cat on the wife's shoulder looking at the husband. You can see right through him. Generally, a lot of times people will feel our ghost cat rubbing, against their leg, their ankle, like, he wants to be pet. You can come to this house and pretty much visit any of the rooms, and you're going to take a good chance on seeing something, feeling something, or smelling something, because there's many ways of experiencing something paranormal.
Uh-oh, I got goosebumps there. Haunted Cellar presentations happen every Friday and Saturday nights at the Farnsworth House Inn. To learn more about their other spooky events, head to our website, fox43.com.
Tell you what, can't beat Farnsworth. They have good food, good like hometown food, like Yankee pot roast, that kind of thing, and real reasonable prices. You can stay there. It's a bed and breakfast, and that is, of course, where in the attic where that young boy took the picture of the gloved hand is where the sniper's roost was during the Battle of Gettysburg, and it is also said that that is where the bullet that killed the only civilian that was killed during that battle, and that was Jenny Wade at the Jenny Wade house, which is down the block. I want to say 6 to 7 houses down. And so the angle coming from that attic from the Farnsworth would have probably been where the bullet came through, went through the door and hit Jenny Wade while she was baking bread for the soldiers. And it's so sad. She was also I think it was her cousin that was fighting, and he was carrying a message from her to her fiance, boyfriend, and he was in the battle, and they were both killed without getting the message. So, I mean, it was just, it's such a story, and there's so many stories like that in Gettysburg. Of course, there isn't any, battle, but so there's the Farnsworth. This one is a story. This one is from Rice Hope Plantation. And it's a sad story about a little girl. Now, this is one of those stories where my personal opinion, which you take that for what it's worth. I think, I don't know. You tell me what you think. I kind of think that they're stretching it a little bit as far as this is one of those where you get their opinion on why this ghost is there, what the ghost is doing. I don't know whether they have a lot to back this because they've read journals or letters from witnesses and put this all together, or they're just jumping to conclusions. I can't say either way. But I think it's a cautionary tale on what I spoke of earlier of just jumping to conclusions about, because I always try to think of the ghost. What is the ghost is using all their energy to try to communicate or get attention, or maybe it doesn't even know why it's doing it. It's just, look, I can bang this. It makes a noise. And sometimes I see something, like in a person that maybe they're seeing sometimes, maybe they see us all the time. Who knows? Sometimes you can ask a ghost, do you see me? And they say yes. And sometimes they say no. So you can't even jump to that conclusion that they can see you when you're in the kitchen yelling at them. Why are you banging the cabinets? I can't tell you if they do or not. It's an individual case each time. So if that ghost is banging those cabinets and it's struggling and thinking, it takes so much energy for me to do this, but when I bang the cabinets, whatever this person is seems to pay attention, and maybe this person can help me because I don't know where I am or what's happening. If they are thinking that, and you're calling them John, and it's not John, I think that can get in the way and make the situation worse and make them more agitated and more angry and more whatever is happening in their head. Do you feel what I'm saying? Okay. So this one is like that, but it's a nice story. So we'll see what you think. You tell me. How's everybody doing tonight? Good? I had a rough day. Rough day. Just agitating.
Sometimes the most elegant hotels are also the most troubled. Filled with lonely spectres searching for peace, haunted by history.
$1696. My
Rice
goodness.
Hope Plantation Inn rests
Wow.
on America's southeast coast, just an hour's drive from the city of Charleston, South Carolina.
Beautiful place, by the way, Charleston. If you've never been there, South
This
Carolina.
18th century
Gorgeous.
Federalist mansion by the Cooper River welcomes guests and, some say, ghosts.
It's the ghost, it's the girl. Don't you see that? And her whole face went white and she was staring.
The sense of history here goes far beyond the inn.
You come up to these gates and you look through them and there are these huge 400-year-old live oak trees that are full of Spanish moss, and this incredible eerie feeling comes over you.
As innkeeper Lou Edens explains, part of that feeling may also come from the story of a young girl named Catherine.
Catherine's grandparents lived on this side of Rice Hope Plantation.
After her sea captain father was lost in a shipwreck, Catherine and her mother moved back to the old family home, Rice Hope Plantation.
She led an idyllic life here. She was the center of attention. And at that time, Rice Hope was over 1,700 acres.
Catherine loved the outdoors. There were trees to climb, swings to ride, and the Cooper River was full of surprises.
Catherine looked to nature for a lot of entertainment and by capturing little creatures.
Catherine caught a turtle and kept it as a pet. She could have no idea that she and her new friend would soon leave Rice Hope. Her mother was to marry a man in a distant town, and he had no interest in raising another man's child. Catherine was sent to board at the nearby school under the supervision of the schoolmaster, Mr. Dutarque, a former plantation overseer whose mere presence terrified young children. Catherine quickly became homesick, and she was unable to pay attention in school. The callous schoolmaster had no patience with Catherine's daydreaming and punished her by forcing her to stay inside and sew.
Again, I point out, why is it that these people that have this power, whatever the uniform is, that think that they're going to teach a person love and respect and self-respect and whatever it is, and all these things by being so daggum mean? I don't understand. How many stories have we seen where people were trying to beat, I'll teach you to be a good person. So look, I'm not going to tell you that there's not a time for, fisticuffs sometimes, but do you understand what I'm saying here? Like, look at the Borley Mansion, right? The nun and the monk, they fall in love. Both, whatever sect of the religion that they were trying to teach, the basis of that religion is supposed to be love and brotherly love and understanding and forgiveness and all these things. These people fall in love, and the first thing that both of their groups do is decide to wall her up alive behind bricks and hang him. That'll teach them love and respect and honor and forgiveness. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I could be wrong.
Spending the day confined indoors was a fate worse than death for Catherine. She looked to a familiar friend for comfort.
Catherine was supposed to be sewing, but instead she decided she would go outside and play with her little pet turtle.
She tried to slip away unnoticed, but she had left a clue behind.
She dropped the fabric that she's supposed to be sewing.
Mr. Dutargue realized Catherine was gone and set out after her. He found the lost fabric and followed Catherine's trail to the river's edge. The startled girl tried to explain.
She told him that she only wanted to be outside, and he went into something of a rage, shouting, "If outside is what you want, outside is what you shall have." He took her into the cemetery and lashed her onto a tombstone.
The punishment that awaited Catherine was far worse than a day without fresh air. Long ago, a young girl named Catherine reveled in her life at Ricehope Plantation. But that joy swiftly ended after she was sent to boarding school. There, she looked for solace in the natural world, but found instead her schoolmaster, Mr. Dutargue, determined to teach her a lesson. In a fury, he lashed her to a tombstone in the graveyard.
You wanted to be outside? Now you'll be outside!
The schoolmaster left, and Catherine was alone in the cemetery. Soon, night began to fall.
She knew about the creatures of the night, the bobcats. There were even bears in the Carolinas then.
I mean, who's
What
in
came
charge?
next would make her nightmare complete. From the darkened woods, a glowing, angry face began to make its way toward her.
I love turtles' tails. I love
Catherine
not turtle
fainted.
tails. Love turtles' tails. It's
But
called-
then, a human figure stepped from the darkness. It was not a spectre, but a slave carrying a jack-o'-lantern to light his way and to frighten off those who might report him for being out at night. As the man came across Catherine's limp body, he was shocked by what he saw. He ran for help, and Catherine was saved. But she would never find happiness again.
He probably
The
got in
night in
trouble
the
for being out.
graveyard changed her forever, and the carefree child grew into a suspicious, reclusive adult. Catherine finally died of old age. But some at the inn say,
Do y'all find that one line, is that a little odd to you? I don't know why that sounds odd to me, but maybe it's the way he said it. She finally died. Catherine finally died of old age. Maybe he hesitated there and it said like she finally died, like they were waiting on her to die, and she finally did, but of old age. That's how I took it. Am I weird? I guess I'm weird. He said it weird. It's not just me. He said it weird.
she has come home again.
When I'm walking, especially upstairs down that long hall, I feel like there's somebody behind me. It's like I'm not alone.
This is what I'm
And
saying.
guests who stayed in Catherine's old room report they sometimes receive an unexpected visitor.
They had a
hope
small
so.
carry-on suitcase sitting on a stool and a few books on the same stand as the TV. Right at midnight, the books were literally thrown off of the TV stand, and the suitcase that was sitting on the stool was dumped upside down on the floor.
Perhaps Catherine's apparition was not happy about sharing the room. Or was she trying to send another message? No one can be certain. but she appears to have strong
Correct.
ideas about
No one
how
can be
her old
certain.
home should be kept.
Guests kept talking about the door being open.
Torture. She didn't torture turtles, Henry. She loved
And I
turtles.
would realize, I had closed the door. I'd even locked the door, and they'd say the door was open. So I put a door closer on it. One day I looked, and the door closer screws had been pulled out of the door facing.
Staff members believe
Now-
Catherine's wishes that day came across loud
What's going on in this house? They can't do a better paint job on this. I mean, is that not the first thing you notice, that this could use a good couple coats of paint?
and clear.
It's a message to me
What
not
the
to close
heck?
that door. She wants to go outside at her will.
Probably angry needs that
Though
door
it would
painted.
seem
It's telling you
Catherine's
need-
spirit travels in a world
Get your paint
without
scraper.
barriers, perhaps a locked door
Some
is a
sandpaper,
troubling
get some-
reminder of the night she was held against her will.
Sherwin-Williams up in that thing. That's probably what's made her mad. Not taking care of it.
Former Rice Hope innkeeper Doris Kasprak has seen firsthand what an apparent encounter with this spectre can do.
I know.
My
When you're in
daughter
construction,
all of a sudden turned and
You know?
stared at the back porch. Her whole
Raccoons.
face went white and she was staring. It's the ghost, it's the girl. She's going up the back steps and she just went into the door. And I get goosebumps even right now just thinking about that one.
On the grounds, on the stairs, in the house, Catherine's spirit is thought to wander every corner of the plantation. The silence of the night is sometimes broken by her footsteps echoing down the halls. And guests lie awake as she passes by their doors.
She had this glow all around her and she just flowed. She didn't walk or fly. It was definitely like flowing.
On nights when the full moon shines, some guests at Rice Hope are met with a haunting sight. It
It's
has
a dead
been
children's
over 300
playground.
years since young Catherine lived so carefree. Now, she may be making up for lost time.
She's still trying to live that normal life, that carefree life that she would have led had she not had such a traumatic incident when she was 7 years old.
Some specters are scarred forever by a single night. But for other spirits and other places, the list of dark deeds can be almost endless.
this was a good one. This was a good one. Okay. Before we hit this one, the hold. This is a good one. So before we hit this one, I wanted to say that when you've got people like working at a place like this last one, that's basically like a museum and it's a work, it's an active property, right? You cannot fault people for jumping to conclusions. It's like, oh, that's just her. She's, she didn't like people in that room or whatever. So does she do this every time somebody's in the room? Is it only some people? There's a story in here somewhere. I don't know if I recorded that one or not, but where the manager said it's a bridal suite. It may be this one, but it's a bridal suite. And on the first night of the honeymoon that the couple stays in there, she either, if she bothers them, supposedly that's saying that the marriage isn't going to last and she doesn't approve of the coupling or whatever it may be, that you do not, this marriage does not have this ghost approval because she did this in the night, but if she left you alone, then your marriage will be, that's just, unless you've got something, show me some statistics on that, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not possible. Show me, do you have like 25? What's your base? You got 100 couples and, every time she did this or he did this, that it came true, because that would be interesting. But to just put something like that out there, it's, again, everything I said before. This is what irritates me, I think, the most about with ghost stories. And I can't even really say irritated, but I definitely get irritated when people say stuff like the broad brushing of saying like ghosts never go in a bathroom. Stop it. That's not true. Because there's plenty of haunted bathrooms. There's plenty of people that saw ghosts in bathrooms. If you're saying that ghosts of your loved ones that come back to visit respect your privacy, that's a different thing. Say that. Because when people have a tendency to hang on to things, when you say them like that, and they get it in their mind and they put it in their personal Rolodex. And when they're going on an investigation or whatever it may be, or experience a haunting of themselves, it's mucking up the facts, it's blurring the lines. And there's very few lines in the paranormal as there is. And if you're trying to sort those and stand back and go, okay, wait a minute, let me find out what the real thing is. If I can go into this with an open mind, this is why mediums and people like this do not want to, channelers and stuff, they don't want to know anything about the case. If you notice, like Dead Files, Amy, she's got that, and they go through that ritual of telling you why he's covering all the pictures and taking down the stuff and doing all the things. That's her ex-husband, by the way. And he's doing it out of respect for her, because this is how she works. And some don't have to go that far. But I'll tell you, some don't go as far as she does, because she spends days doing this. She's in it. She starts it and she wants it finished. She wants to beginning and a middle and an end. And she does it right. So that's why people don't want to get, mucked up with other people's details. Does that make sense? I cannot fault these women. I don't want to be misunderstood. I cannot fault them for coming up with little ways to deal with it. Oh, that's just Mary. She's going to knock your books off. Oh, she just, she's just playing pranks. She's just having fun and living her best life because she didn't get to do that back in the day. The underlining issue here is that Mary is an earthbound spirit. She did not receive love, understanding, and kindness in life. For the love of God, give it to her in death and help her get to her real loved ones, her next step. If there's some reason she must continue this journey here for whatever karmic, tapestry she may have woven her for herself through many lives, if she's supposed to be here dancing on the grounds and knocking people's books over, then so be it. That's not our business. But can we not show her love and understanding and try to get her to the next step? And I think that's what a lot of people in the ghost world get pissed at me, because I'm trying to put myself in their ghostly moccasins, I guess. Would you want, what I mean? I've seen enough to know that there's sadness there, and how long it took 100, how many years, she's there. Ghosts aren't pets. Okay. So this was a good one because he's a rascal kind of ghost. I love rascal ghosts, don't you? So this is a good one. And this is the Holt Hotel. And now I'm not saying I agree with everything he did in life. I'm just saying he's a rascal ghost, and that tickles me. Don't misquote Cisco. I could do that all on my own. This was a good one. I like this one. This was fun. Hey, Scotters, good to see you. Where the hell's Ted been? What the hell's going on with Ted? Get your butt in here, Ted. Missed ya.
The Holt Hotel abounds
okay,
with
right?
English charm.
I hope so.
Located
Love
at a
Fro from
crossroads in
Sending You Love.
Oxfordshire, west of London.
I love you, baby.
It was built as a coaching inn during the 15th century. Over the years,
Never mind. We'll start again. If I could just take a moment, there's a lot of people out there that's really hurting right now. There's a lot of people feeling this You know what I mean, light workers, right? Feeling the drain, feeling the strain, feeling the pain. It's coming at us hard. And there's a lot of people out there going through a lot of stuff. So if you're part of this channel, if you're part of our subscribers, if you're part of the light working world, if you're out there and you need an extra shot of light, I think everybody does right now. I want to just focus in on whoever you want to send it to. If you just want to send it out, so we can counteract and put back some of this darkness, let's take a moment to do that. Because I love y'all. And I was feeling it today hard. I'm telling you what, stuff is trying to get in every which way but loose. And it's a struggle. Nobody said it wouldn't be. But let's just focus for a moment and everybody just direct their light. Just send it out. And whoever needs some, take some. It's kind of like that book thing. Take one, leave one. Borrow a cup of light if you need it. Love into this world. Regroup. Thank you. There you go. I love you. Okay. Rascal Ghost. Take 2.
Travellers have rested here before continuing on their journey to London. Today, they still sample local ales in the bar or relax in one of the Holt's 86 rooms. But hotel waitress Tanya Sheriff says not everyone gets a good night's sleep.
Your arms go cold and goosebumpy and your hair stand up. You can lose your breath and try to scream, but nothing comes out.
The Holt's remote setting helps modern visitors relax. But this isolation is also largely responsible for the hotel's violent past. A past, says guest Diana Mayrick Lear, that still lingers on.
This hotel is very old. There are spirits from all sorts of things that have happened. There was a murder, so the spirits from that. This was an area where people were hung at the crossroads. There's spirits from those dead people as well. So there's many spirits. This is a very haunted hotel.
I believe her. I believe
there
her.
is one spirit here stronger than all the rest. His name is Claude Duval. At the Holt, the restaurant, the bar, and a homebrewed beer are all named after him.
I so want one of those.
His is a murderous legend.
At that bar.
And there are those who still shudder at the thought of him.
Claude Duval hangs around here because obviously it's his home. It's a place where he killed people. So there is a lot of fear in this hotel.
Claude Duval was a highwayman who came from France in the 17th century to steal the riches of the English.
Highwaymen would rob people, slit their throats, anything to get money, jewellery, anything like that.
Claude liked the Holt's isolated location so much that the hotel became his home and place of business.
Oh, she is.
The highwaymen basically
That's
hung around
adorable,
hotels
Lulu.
because they knew rich people would be there.
Adorable.
And people also had money on them.
But money wasn't all he was after.
He's reputed to have held up a stagecoach, and he said to the gentleman, "I do not want your purse. I would like to have a dance with your wife."
Can you
Hotel
imagine?
breakfast chef Christine Gregory knows his legend as well.
He was what we would call a bit of a Jack the Lad. He liked his women, would come in, have a good time with her.
But he was nice to
Lady
him.
on his knee.
One look from Claude and women's hearts would melt.
He was a perfect gentleman, apart from killing people.
Best line of the night.
But charisma could only take him so far. Robbing and murdering hotel guests did not make Claude popular with the Holt's owners. And eventually they took steps to put his reign of terror to an end.
Come on, it's funny. Come on. It's funny.
One night, Claude was caught off guard. The town constable burst into his room and carried him off. He was taken to London and hanged for his crimes.
Don't do
The innkeepers thought they had seen the last of Claude Duval. But if the stories were true, they were dead wrong. After Duval's hanging, the landlord and landlady at the Holt were found bludgeoned to death in their bed. Locals believe it was Claude, returning from the dead for one last killing spree.
He had got his revenge back on the landlady and landlord that took him in, even though he was dead, and the dead can do things like that.
Well, she said it. The dead can do things like that.
The murder remains unsolved. Claude never killed again, but some staff members are still afraid to be alone in the hotel.
I mean,
even guests have learned to fear Claude's menacing legacy.
I woke up with an awful fright. I was bolt upright in bed. The hairs on the back of my arm were standing up.
The guest was staying in room number 3, Claude Duval's old room. Suddenly, it seemed, he had returned.
Keep in mind, they think he
realised
hacked
that all
those
my
women,
lights
people to
had
death.
come on in the room, and the window was open. The curtain was blowing. It was as though some presence had walked through the room and gone out the window.
It appears that Claude most often seeks out single women for his supernatural advances. But apparently, no challenge is too great. Married women have been approached as well. On one occasion,
Told you he was a
Claude
rascal.
appeared before a woman while her husband lay asleep in bed beside her.
The woman had just sat up straight in a bed and saw what she thought was her husband at the end of the bed and said, "Oh, are you all right, honey?"
But as her eyes adjusted, she realized the shadowy figure was not her husband.
She let this screech and looked at the end of the bed.
Then the apparition vanished before her eyes.
I would say mostly, for the most part, a large percentage, yes, hanging. I would say that they're just like, if they're earthbound, they're just like they were when they were here. But in a death state, and on top of that, you've got what state of mind were they in, and what state of mind are they stuck in, what level of agitation, how much energy, and what do they know they can do, and how strong, what's their motive. You see what I'm saying? So if their like motive is revenge, they just want to create fear. They just run around and they create fear and create fear and create fear. And they get off on that like they did in life. Some of them just do that because they don't know what else to do. Like the one I had I believe in the farmhouse I lived in. He would change. He wasn't the same all the time. So there's so many levels. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, I would have to say yes. And I think a lot of the chat would agree with me on that.
It seems Claude does not confine his haunting to room number 3. He has been spotted at the bar as well, an area he knew well while he lived. The bar staff are a bit nervous when he's around, especially when the glasses start to fly.
You'd hear 2 glasses or maybe 3 fall off the shelf, and you guarantee he'd be sat there looking at you.
At other times, there is just a figure in a cloak, dark and menacing.
It was in the middle of the winter, very, very cold, very, very dark and eerie. And there was this figure, as though it was floating down the back, down this glass corridor. It was all dressed in black, with a hood, as though it was a cloak it got on. Never see a face.
Occasionally, an inexplicable chill fills the entire hotel.
The feeling is absolutely awful. It's almost as though somebody has walked over your grave. You are so frightened. Your heart is pounding. And you are just so with fear because you don't understand what's going on.
And if the tales are true, Claude is not alone. Sometimes he is joined by his victims. According to the staff, these poor souls must roam the netherworld with the man who put them there. And at times, they relive their dying moments.
If you go down the 20s corridor, you can hear this choking sound. It was a very violent man, and now he's getting his revenge back on everybody and spooking everybody.
It seems anything can happen when the lights go out at the Holt Hotel.
Interesting. This next one is the Lighthouse Inn. So, to answer your question, it also depends on, like this guy. This guy is a perfect example. Look, he was a jerk in life. He hurt people. I don't understand why they're saying they think that he came back and killed. It's too pat. You know what I mean? It's too tight. You know, that the ghost would come back and kill the people. Where's your evidence of that? You know, what would lead you to the ghost? You know, is that something that a rumor that the actual killer started just to get him off the path, or what, you know? And again, that's just strange because here you got these people, and I agree, she was sweet. I like that lady. She had a great voice. But they're sleeping there, and they're actually sleeping there thinking that this ghost that killed these people, which I'm not saying he didn't. Can ghosts do this? I would say yeah. You know, that whole thing where ghosts can't hurt you, bullshit. Total bullshit. And I'll, you know what I mean? That's something that people have to understand, because again, that lets you lull you into this ghosts are pets and it's okay, you know, we're coexisting. I'm not saying that's not possible. It depends on the person living, depends on the person dead. Individual, each case. Okay, no broad brushes, because something can start out perfectly fine and over time turn into something complete 180, because it depends on the energy in the house, what's going on in the world, what's going on with that ghost, what its journey is. Again, karmic, you know, this doesn't seem very fair when you're looking at this guy who hurt people all his life and then decided, okay, he gets to skip the loop. You know what I mean? He gets to the get out of jail free card because he's just not crossing over. It's a very interesting thing to think about, because, you know, there's very few percentages and groups, like I did that earlier, and I said, you know, a high percentage of them, yes. If you think about it, I think most people who have studied this for years or decades, whatever, depending on their journey, their understanding of consciousness, their awareness, would tell you that most don't cross in a situation where the ghost actually makes a conscious decision not to, nope, not going in that light. I know what's over there. Hold the phone, tap the brakes. I'm not going. You know, I don't want to see you. We've all heard the stories. I don't want to go over there. My ex-wife is over there. I don't want to go over there. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be punished for the things I've done. I don't, you know, I'm scared of that. I know what's here. I don't want to go over there. This is bad enough. I hear that's worse because I've been a bad person. Whatever that might mean for that individual. It might be absolutely nothing that they did. It might be absolutely nothing they did wrong, but they're misjudging themselves and they're being harsh on themselves, which a lot of people in that mindset do. Think about it. I'm no psychologist, but does that not make sense to you? Do we not judge ourselves harshly if we have a conscience? Yeah? How many ghosts do you think we've talked to that have said, oh, I didn't do the right thing and this person got hurt because I did this, and they totally misunderstood the situation, and because they're erratic, their mind, may not be erratic, but they just might have anxiety, whatever it may be, trauma, drama. I mean, they're dead. Something happened. I mean, this is common sense paranormal, yeah? So most of the people that have that conscious choice, not all of them do. Some just wind up there, have no idea that they're there, don't even know they're dead. They're just bip, something's different. Right? And then you have the conscious ones. Well, how come this guy got a choice? You feel me? If it's all karma and it's all justice and pay leveled all out and all this other stuff, and it's all sorted in that black and white yes or no world, how did this guy get a break? How did this guy get to hang back and go, whoa, I'm not going anywhere. I like it here. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And for a cherry on top, I'm going to kill the landlord and his wife while they lay in their bed for revenge. Because, they did me wrong. Does that sound right to you? Think about it. This guy's been seen. It would be hard to dispute the fact that they're not seeing this dude, that it's not that ghost. He's obviously dressed a certain way. They're all seeing the same thing. He pops up here, there, and everywhere. He's grabbing butts. He's doing whatever, killing people, running out, going in and out of windows, blowing curtains all over the place, right? Think about it. This is wild. How come he gets a ticket to ride? He gets to stay back. No consequences whatsoever. Doesn't seem right. And he's got a cheeky monkey disposition, and if he killed these people, then he's dangerous, yeah? But they're not even talking about this guy with the same feeling and fear and dread and oh my God, and get the priest, and I need an exorcism, and he killed 2 people. The landlord and his wife in bed, he's going to kill me. They're going to sleep in there like it's no big deal. They're talking about it like it's, just another part of the house. It's an odd story if you think about it. It's got a lot of levels to it. Maybe I think too much about this. I don't know. But I've spent my whole life doing my best to analyze true paranormal and supernatural events. And what patterns did they fit, if any? And why? And what causes it? And what parts do we have control over? And if we do have control over parts, how do we get that control? Where are the tools to this? You see what I mean? How do we control our words and our intent to throw out light instead of curses or spells? Spells can be good and bad. Do good spells draw and cost the same as bad? If so, why does this guy, who's a highwayman, slitting throats, stealing wives, embarrassing men, how come he got a break? And not only does he get to be a ghost in this house doing the things that he does, with the reputation he has, but nobody's afraid of him. You get my drift? They're not, we have a demon in the house every time. Oh my God. Call the mediums, get the high school and the college in here to, get the cameras, the faces are melting in mirrors and stuff. Is it because it's an inn and it has they're looking at it like it's a history and it's just a quaint part of the house and the ambiance, and it goes with the feeling, and we like the fact that he's here, and he likes us talking about him, and all that. All's forgiven. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? What an absolute, I don't know. Maybe I'm having an old acid flashback or something. But I think this is a very interesting story on multiple levels of what the heck and how does this fit any rules that we thought we understood before? And what chapter is this in the big book of why we can't use our abilities to guide ourselves the way we would want to? We probably are. We're just using them in a different way. Not as direct, not how come I'm not in the picture of the, the lottery number or something when I can't pay the mortgage, or, wouldn't be fair. How come I can't tell that I shouldn't get that job or shouldn't date that guy or, don't marry that chick. Don't do it, partner in a job or something. You get a feeling, but not as much as you would for a stranger. And how do those energies, and maybe it's us, maybe it's just that everything is kind of not all based off of karma and what maybe it's just what we're supposed to learn at the time. Are these people learning something in this inn with this guy, jumbling around? And what would happen if a group went in there and said, look, you had your fun, you even got your revenge, apparently. You've been here kicking around for 150 years, slapping butts and jumping in bed with people and stealing guys' wives and things, and single ladies, ladies' night, all that kind of stuff. So it's time. What do you say? It's time to pay the piper, face the music, right? What would happen? What would happen? And would it be right? Would it be okay to jump into somebody's journey like that and get pushy and go, look, you gotta, some people would say, yes, it is. Some people would say you're interfering. And some people would say you got to let it play out. In this case, do you? It's a lot of good moral questions there. I don't know. Very interesting. Let's check out the Lighthouse Inn. I'm going to check out what you guys are saying in chat, because it's hard for me to read and get a thought out at the same time, because I'll just like Ricochet Rabbit all over the place, So let's start this one, and we got time. We got time for this one. It's like 10 minutes. They're good stories. There's a lot to learn off of them. I found them interesting.
Some phantoms fill the night with fear. Some seem to come bearing sorrow, and others seem simply to want to lend a hand. New London, Connecticut is an historic seaside town on the New England coast. Summer homes line the ocean's edge, and those on holiday come to bask in the sun and enjoy sea breezes. Many spend the night in a former home overlooking the water, called the Lighthouse Inn. In 1902, a wealthy family built the Lighthouse Inn as a summer getaway.
Good night, Pammy Cakes.
30 years
Love you,
later,
Cam.
the mansion was converted into an inn. Since then, thousands of guests have come through its doors. And according to locals, a few have never left.
When you walk into these rooms, they just don't quite feel that they're empty.
Possible. Possible.
In the 1930s, the inn's Victorian charm made it a popular spot for weddings. And according to hotelier Jim McGrath, there was one feature that brides adored the most.
The grand staircase, just makes a dramatic opportunity for a bride to have her wedding day.
Many noted that the winding mahogany staircase bore a striking resemblance to the one aboard the ocean liner Titanic. And like the passengers on that lost ship, one high society bride here at the inn
in
was
some
also
cases
destined for a disastrous encounter.
Some cases. All this is true.
On the coast of New England, the Lighthouse Inn offers enchanting views of the sea and the haunting tale of an ill-fated bride.
She was a very wealthy girl and very well known in the community.
Great
And
question.
She wanted to come to the Lighthouse Inn
Great
to have
statement.
her wedding.
When her wedding day arrived, the bride spent hours getting ready. She rehearsed her grand entrance again and again, until finally she was ready for the real thing.
She made her descent down the stairs. Her groom was looking up at her.
But a happy ending was not to be. Halfway down the stairs, she fell. The groom rushed to her side, but it was too late. Her neck was broken, and she was dead. Since that tragic day, thousands of brides have walked down the grand staircase after her. All have made the journey safely. But staff at the inn say, today's brides never walk alone.
She revisits all of our weddings. Her wedding day, it didn't happen. She's reliving it and trying to make it happen.
New brides prepare for their weddings in the same room she did, and sales manager Lisa Johansson says her presence is strongest there.
You just feel a cool breeze. And then you look around and you just kind of have that feeling like someone is looking at you.
This spirit seems content to stand back and let new brides have their day. But after the wedding, as the couple lies sleeping in the honeymoon suite, she may let her opinion of the new marriage be known. On some wedding nights, guests are awakened as the bed begins to shake violently, apparently of its own accord. Hotel waiter Charles Cunningham thinks there may be a simple reason why only certain couples are treated this way.
Some that she blesses their marriage, and some maybe that she hates. That's why she shakes the bed.
Did I not say this? Check this out.
Late at night, staff members say her spirit relives what might have been, descending the staircase again and again, trying to reach the last step and her husband's arms. One evening, a night porter became an unwilling participant in her procession.
She was going downstairs, and he was afraid to turn around because he heard the ghost behind him.
His heart was pounding as the sound of breathing grew louder, and hot breath warmed the back of his neck.
Hot breath.
When he turned around, she was gone. But not.
What's creepier, hot breath or cold breath? Creepiest thing I ever heard. Lady, I know this lady. She lives in this house. Anyway, she's nuts. Not because she's crazy, but because she lives in this house. She's just strong and she's not leaving, and there's stuff she has abilities, so stuff finds her. Anyway, she's in this house, and this thing is in her house, and she feels it come in her room. The door opens. She feels it. She feels it. She knows it's there. She doesn't see it, but she knows it's there. She can hear it. She can smell it. She knows. And it comes in, crawls up the bed, moves in alongside of her. She can feel its breath. She can smell its breath. And then it licks her face. And she stayed in that house. Creepy. That's the kind. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why every time you guys say something, I say in some cases, because there's no broad brush. And gentlemen in here said, and I agree in some cases, absolutely, you're right. And I'm not saying you're wrong. But in my experience, I can only speak for what I've seen. Do you see what I mean? That a lot of ghosts, depending on where they are in their abilities, mostly those that have crossed over and come back, in my experience, speak telepathically in any language, depending on what they're trying to portray. Some come through that are ascended beings that just come, and everything's telepathic. My mother came in all telepathic. Most of the ghosts I've communicated with have been telepathic. I have heard some audible, and I have heard EVPs and recordings in languages that have been dead a very long time, and have taken multiple universities and linguistic scholars of ancient languages to determine. And good friends of mine have this on recording, and it turned out to be a language that was in that area but had long since passed. And what they were able to determine from it was enough that they could glean from the information and all this research and experts and whatever. The message that they received back was not only in a dead language, but was an intelligent response to the questions being asked on the tape. So that's why I say I'm not being flippant or arrogant or know-it-all or anything like that when I say, and I don't mean it. It's just 50 years, you just get to the point where you go, in some cases, because I'm going to leave this earth doing everything I can to portray what I've learned, even if I'm not sure what that is. Because I believe in people's cultures and their belief and their own experience and their knowledge, the data they've collected in their lifetime, wherever they are now, from 10 to 100. Okay. Their statements are based on that knowledge. And that knowledge is not incorrect for the most part. Unless somebody comes out and says, ghosts are all made of green jello, period. All right. Well, there's obviously problems there. Closed-minded. You don't really know what you're talking about. And I like green jello. So I'm not being flippant when I say, and I'm not brushing anybody off, but the statements you guys are making in this chat, in my humble opinion, for whatever it's worth, in some cases, the statement brought up about reincarnation. You can't reincarnate until you cross over. In some cases. Because I've known cases where people with abilities much wiser than me all agreed that this person was part of a split soul. Some of them stayed and some of them went and carried on. Can we do that? Apparently so. Can I explain it? Nope. I think the closest I could get to it, if it's all energy, and we're all energy, vast ocean. Think of the ocean. All of it's what? No land. It's water. We're all part of that water. And if you take a bucket of that water, we're still part of the water, but now we're in a bucket. If you take a cup and you take a cup of that water out of the bucket, we're still part of the water. Now we're in a cup and we came out of the bucket. You get what I'm saying here? Take your hand, you stick, big hand, God's hand, whose ever hand, stick it in the cup, flick the water. Whoa, there we go. Are we any less a part of the ocean? Are we all still a part of each other? But we're just fragments of the same. Do those drops ever come back and get back in the cup? Did they get back in the bucket? Did they hit the ocean? Maybe being a ghost is like being stuck in a cup. Maybe that drop split in two. It was part of the same DNA, same soul memory, same everything, but it decided, whoops, and split into two. Is it any less the same of that soul? Does it come back together? Does it come back together and cross over and meet all the people that it knew in all the lives, in both lives, that were in a parallel dimension at the same time? Whoa. I don't have the answers to that. Do I think it's possible? Yep. I think a lot of things are possible. Because if it's energy, what happens to the drop if it hits a hot sidewalk and it evaporates? Is it any less a part of that ocean? Does it go back to the ocean? Does it go up and get filtered through a cloud of karma, get battered around, hit some lightning bolts, and wind up back in the ocean? It starts again. I don't know. But maybe being a ghost is you're stuck in a cup. I don't know. But in some cases, and in most cases with the telepathic seems to cross over to things that would be described as extra-dimensional beings, aliens, dogmen, Bigfoot, some cryptids. I've never heard a story where the Loch Ness Monster read somebody's mind. I don't know if it's true. Could be true. I don't know. Never saw it. But if I have I had telepathic, I don't even know how to say it, telepathic communication with a being that I would consider other than human? 100%. More than once. I'm trying to think. To be honest, I'd say it's in the double digits. Easy. And one of them was a Bigfoot. Probably more than one. But that's for sure. So, would I say that some beings are more comfortable communicating in their own language? I would say in some cases, yes, an earthbound spirit. Because in my understanding at this point in time in my consciousness in life, when you cross over, you gain so much more understanding and ability, depending on your vibrational level, where you are, how high you want to go, how low you want to go. Okay, where you're at. So very interesting, very interesting. Let's finish this. I'll shut up.
For long. 1 week later, she appeared again.
That was the young lady walking down the hallway in a long white gown, and all of a sudden she disappeared.
Sometimes the bride announces her presence with a whisper of music.
Our night auditor has heard a music box playing in the main dining room, and she would walk into the main dining room following this music.
While this bride seems destined to dance alone, Members of the staff say she is not the only ghost to take up residence at the Lighthouse Inn. They believe the spirits of those who met untimely deaths in a devastating hurricane decades ago have taken shelter here as well. After the storm, the Lighthouse Inn was one of the few structures left standing. Locals believe 2 neighborhood children who lost their lives in the tempest look to the inn as their only reminder of the past.
We've had sightings of 2 little girls, and they're usually playing, and they're up the hall, and you'll hear them.
Guests are caught off guard when the sound of a ghostly song drifts by their room. It seems the younger girl has a fear of the dark that death could not diminish. And when the lights go out, she seeks comfort from the living.
As soon as she turned off the light, she felt like someone had crawled into bed with her. Someone small, like a child.
The startled guest turned on the light and saw no one. Those who work and stay at the Lighthouse Inn believe it may always provide a haven for those who have gone before, and perhaps the reason lies in the inn's name.
Lighthouses are beacons of light, and they're helping ships and their captains find safe passage to wherever they're going. The Lighthouse Inn has kind of the same feel and reputation with ghosts.
At a haunted hotel, guests who come knocking in the middle of the night may have already checked in centuries ago.
Look at that happy little pumpkin. Isn't that something? Don't you just love Halloween? I love Halloween. It's just the orange and the black and the little ghosties. I mean, look at him. What's not to love? Look at him. So, why are ghost brides so creepy? Ghost kids for sure. Running through the hotel room. There's 1,000 stories of kids in hotels. One of my favorite one is the one with Michael Madsen. He's staying at the hotel. You've heard the story. I'll tell it again. I'll tell it really quick. Wonderful fella. Let me just put it that way. It's a man's man, you know. Michael Madsen, Reservoir Dogs, you know, the whole stuck in the middle with you. Horrible scene. Horrible scene. Ruined him for me. Anyway, Michael Madsen tells his story. He, I believe, was on Celebrity Ghost Stories. He's told it a couple other things. He's away. He's on set. They put him up in a hotel, like an inn. Very, curtains, the old wood, the beautiful mahogany staircase, the whole shebang. It comes with a legend, and there's a little girl who supposedly killed herself. She was in the hall. Her parents owned the hotel. She's playing ball. She's like 4 or 5 years old, something like that. On the top level by the stairs, the ball falls. She reaches for it. She falls. She kills her. It's terrible. Horrible tragedy. Actually happened. So, because there's a ghost, this is a great example. Because there's a ghost rattling around and doing things and being seen, but not in full form, they're just assuming and telling the tale and continuously feeding this story that the ghost is the little girl who reached for the ball and fell into her death. Her parents, horrible grief, the whole thing. It's terrible. So he's there. He is on this location for a long period of time. He's missing his family. He's missing his kids. He's a terrific father. He's like an exception to the rule as far as being a Hollywood star. He's one of the good ones. Okay. You'd never guess it because he plays such a bad guy, But anyway, he reminds me a lot. cheeky monkey. Anyway, so he's really missing his family, and this grief is palpable. And the misery and the depression and missing the family. And like I said, he's a great dad, and he has to go down and use the phone at the whatever. It's an old inn. And he always makes it a point to call home, and this is part of his story. So he goes back upstairs, he gets into the bed, and there's a fan. There's something with the fan that it starts to do by itself and go backwards and do some other stuff. I don't know. But the fan was part of the story, and then he's gets a bad feeling, something that he's being watched. All of a sudden, the mist at the end of the bed. Okay, the famous mist, right? And the mist turns into a figure, and it's a little girl. So he's very moved by this. He's freaked out by it. He goes through all the emotions. He's processing it in his head. I think she goes to the window, disappears. Next morning, he goes down and talks to the manager. Of course, the manager tells him a story about the girl in the ball. And of course, it's this girl. And he goes home thinking he saw the ghost of the girl that's bouncing the ball. And he's not. And he never gets the full effect and understanding of the haunting and why it occurred. The cool part about it is he gets with Kim Russo. Kim Russo is a gem in this. Say what you will, you'll never convince me otherwise. I know Kim Russo. She's fantastic. Okay. And extremely talented, guided by love for all the right reasons. The real deal. So Kim shows up for her show, Hollywood, whatever, what the hell is it? Celebrity. So you think you got to go. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, her show, and she gets with Michael, and Michael tells her what happened. She's getting the feeling, and she's in the car, and she's got things, and people coming in for him, and he's got his grandmother and some other people that want to talk to him. And the whole time, she's starting to feel this little girl, and she's starting to feel something else. So she gets there, she sorts it all out, runs it through all her filters. She sets him down. She says, "Look, Michael, this is what happened. You were in this room. You're missing your family. You're a great father. You're connected to your kids. You've got, I can't remember, 2, 3 kids, right? And you're missing them. This little girl, little older than the one that bounced the ball, she crossed over. She's good to go. They keep trying to call her back. She's over there. She's doing her thing. She doesn't want anything to do with this. She doesn't know what they're talking about. She's good to go. But you connected into another girl, the girl ghost that you saw, of a young girl that died when this hotel was part of some apartments 20, 30 years ago. And her and her brother, her younger brother, are ghosts here. You didn't see him. She's the strong one that was kind of trying to get help. And you got her attention because your energy that you were putting out of being such a good parent and your love for your children and your family, she's seeking that as a ghost, protecting her ghost brother to try to cross over, looking for love. And she can't even look for love in her parents, which you would think that she was looking for her parents. She wasn't. She was trying to seek love in other ways because her parents never showed her love, or her brother. They were brought up in this apartment by a couple of drug-riddled human beings. So bad so, they neglected their kids. Their kids really didn't understand what love was, but understood as a ghost enough that there was something else out there that was different. And they were drawn to his light, seeking help. And that whole story would have been missed, covered up by a young girl chasing a ball that died taken way too young, but perfectly fine on the other side doing her thing. But these two needed help and were being ignored and covered up perfectly innocently by a good story and a lot of misdirection and misunderstanding. And that is a typical reason why I do what I do, whatever this is. Does that make sense? Okay. So we don't have time for one more. What we'll do, these are fun. I've got like 8 or 9 other local TV surprise things, and I'll find some more. I've got one I want to end with, and then I've got a little surprise at the end because those little girls running down the hall in an inn kind of sparked a memory. So don't let me forget. Vixen, don't let me forget. So perfect. So this is what I'm saying, Chris, right? And I'm trying to drive that home because I know when I'm gone, if there's not somebody else doing this, because listen, I'm not doing this because I want to get invited on other people's podcasts. Very few people want me on their podcast because I'm going to blow their scene. And I'm going to do it because I care more about the dead that is being exploited and the grief that's being exploited on this side than I care about what their feelings are. You're alive. You can fix your stuff. These people have to jump through hoops, and they're people just like you. You feel me? And that's often taken for gruff and abrasive arrogance of somebody who just wants to push ghosts around, and look, you got to go, and again, you may not know me, but I've got that kind of roadhouse, got to be nice. So nice no longer works. And that bartender thing of you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Because we got other people living here, and ghosts can hurt people. They drain them of their energy. They hurt the sick and infirmed and the young. In some cases. But yes, ghosts can kill you slowly. Some do it on purpose. A lot of them go around and just out of just some misplaced revenge or anger or misguided, you remind them of somebody. How many times have you heard that in a ghost story? You remind, him of her or somebody he loved, because you have brown hair. I just don't think ghosts are that, in some cases, because some are, that easily fooled. You know what I mean? But they'll put a lot of weight on, well, you remind him of his ex-wife because you've got long hair and she was young and, blah, blah, blah. And you're wearing that kind of dress. I don't know what they mean. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it doesn't make sense. I think people just have a lot of patent bumper sticker reasons why the paranormal is the paranormal. And I think a lot of the bumper stickers are cute, but they're not necessarily correct, in my opinion. Does that make sense? And before I go, I want to lay down at least what I've learned. And I've learned that it's a much vaster, interesting picture than most people give it credit for. And I think there's a lot of people out there that maybe don't focus on that. They're just taking that easy, maybe they don't know any better. Might not be intentional, absence of malice and all that, but, and it's just not in their interest because there's so many directions you can go in this, right? Anything can be exploited. Anything can be drug out. I think it's really sad. Some of these people that, somebody famous passes on Monday and by, Wednesday, they've got a, episode art up there with some kind of clickbait thing that this guy all of a sudden, not only is he, not even been cold yet, but I doubt very seriously if they're going to come in here and talk to you. You know what I mean? They'd be hanging around their families at this point. The grief alone, if they had anybody, would keep them close to that circle. Not some jerk with a radio dialed into a frequency going, hey, Robin Williams, you have something you want to tell the whole world, and it's some kind of crackly mess from, Come on, man. You know, right is right and wrong is wrong. And I can see, 6 months, a year down the line or something, you're just randomly doing stuff, and you've got somebody that comes through that gives you all these details that convinces you that it might be such and such. But at the very least, I believe that is disrespectful. And it's very best on a paranormal investigator level, I would have to say that it's less than accurate if you know anything about the paranormal. Because you're trying to communicate with the human essence that just left its mortal shell, is being grieved over and prayed over, and whatever might be going on that has to do with that energy. That's so strong and intense for what that soul's going through at that time, that within 3-4 days, a week, you think that you're going to sit in Oshkosh Bagosh somewhere with a radio, and it's all the attention's on you. What's your connection to this essence, to this human being? Oh, you said their name. You called them, and you want them to speak to the world and hear their message to the world. Their message to speak, what the hell just happened? Where am I? What's going on? Who the hell are you? And why are you calling me? I'm over here with my loved ones trying to get my sister over the fact that I just croaked. What do you need? Oh, you want me to speak into your microphone and give the world a message? Here's my message. Because if it was for real with the world that we're in right now, you'd be getting a lot more, off on ghouls. You know what I mean? Let me get back to my ex-wife who's, falling apart over here, picking out my casket. This is real. Think about it. That's disrespectful. And that's the kind of crap that's going to continue to go on and continue to go on and continue to go on. And I'm just trying to get a ghost out of a basement. Color me anything you want. Because when I go, do you know what I mean? All right. So I got this one that I want to show you because I've told you the story 100 times. Oh gosh, I hope I can find it. It might take me a second. Let me see. I think that's it. Okay. This is fun because this is what I saw. This is what I saw. This is so cool. Watch this. Let me hit the right button. Told you the story 100 times about the jumper in the bar.
It's a quaint little pub in a little village in rural Kent, but there's something strange in this neighborhood.
Here's my copyright, right?
Security cameras in the Tyler's
Hit me,
have
YouTube.
captured some mysterious movements at night. Over months, the motion sensors show stools moving, umbrellas popping open, and doors swinging, all while no one's around.
Obviously, there's no explanation. It's some sort of spirit.
Alistair Collins owns the pub and maintains this isn't a stunt, isn't a G-up.
The footage picked this moving like this. All on its own, no one else in the building.
There's no fishing wire pulling it back or
No
anything,
fishing wire, certainly not. No draft that could cause that.
But this skeptic still isn't convinced.
Have a go. See if we can.
Oh, shoot.
Dragon get and try and make it smooth.
Am I close?
I think so, but you can just see that it's quite tufty.
Okay.
This was not it.
Surely
But we'll let it play out. It's only 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I found it though. I'm such a jerk.
So I'd be in shot now.
You'd be in
terrible
shot,
at this.
I mean, I think you'd have seen it.
If it is a ghost, the theory is it's Gilbert, the old landlord,
He died here in
Oh, Gilbert.
1978, and he was a bit of a stickler for tradition. Maybe he doesn't like what I've done with the place.
So you've got Gilbert the Ghost after you now.
Gilbert the Ghost, yeah, great name.
Who are you going to call?
Not Richard
Hey,
Hoskins,
John,
the
how you doing?
electrician. He's got his own ghoulish story from when he was doing the renovations.
I heard the swing doors
Oh
go,
gosh, yeah,
and
Virginia, I love her.
then footsteps up the stairs.
So Richard called out
He was
for
good
the
and done.
only other person in the pub.
He came out of the kitchen behind me. There was no one upstairs, so
What did you think then?
yeah, a little bit freaked out. Just got on with the day, really.
True,
This is a
Scott.
stool that apparently mysteriously was pulled back. Luckily, it pushes in as well. And in a pub with plenty of spirits, plenty of beers, I have a ghost chip, thanks.
I'd go on that show.
Cheers. Perhaps it's not
I
surprising.
could mix
that
drinks
after
and
a
talk
few
to ghosts.
people Tend to see and even hear a few things.
True or not, it's just in
me that
time for Halloween, and the attention is bringing in even more punters.
What do you do with Gilbert?
What do we do? Well, we've been asked whether we want to.
That bar is
perform
way
an
too
exorcism,
bright.
but it
Holy
doesn't seem to
mackerel.
be a scary ghost. Nothing malicious has happened.
Bars should be dark and full of
friendly
wood and
ghosts.
cold beer,
The very best.
frosty mugs, good
From Kent's Michael
conversation,
Best. Not
fire
you.
pit. All right. That's not it. It was all lovely as it was. Okay. I'm sorry. We're never getting out of here. Okay, here we go. One more shot. I think it's this one. Okay. I think it's this one. So hard to see. If you could see what I see, you'd understand why I can't see. All right. I think this one's it.
Historic hotel at A1A and Seabreeze in Daytona Beach has seen a lot of comings and goings, including spring break action in the 1990s.
We know kids can act ghoulish, but it's the current guests that have some employees spooked. They believe the hotel is haunted, and as West 2's Claire Metz reports, on the eve of Halloween, they invited us over to show us why.
The Plaza Resort and Spa is well over a century old. Been in and around this property in one incarnation or another. Well, now some employees think that former guests have either returned or perhaps never left.
It wasn't dust. It wasn't a flashlight. There was nobody on property causing stuff to happen to mess with other employees.
Hotel security chief
nice
Chris
place, yeah.
Lenkowitz and staff were watching security monitors several weeks back when they saw something odd moving through a downstairs bar. An apparition moving about, changing sizes, and when a guard came down to check,
This
others say
is what
the
I saw.
ghostly presence seemed to hide.
Watch
The
this.
guy upstairs
Watch
was
this.
telling him, go behind the bar. It's behind the bar. Go behind. So he started to go behind the bar, and he said, no way. And he got out of here.
Though he couldn't see it, the guard felt something. And later on security video, the apparition almost takes on the shape of a person and runs away.
Do you
Cold
see this?
spells, giggling,
This is what
keys dangling.
used to go behind.
Yeah. And
Staff
it,
says there have been
bar.
strange sightings and sounds from all corners of the hotel.
That's what I saw.
Hallways, ballrooms, even hotel rooms like 1111, where a guest fell to his death from a balcony several years back. But they say this specter
That is
proves
crazy.
there's a bump in the night and then some.
Remember I
You know,
told
I've
you it was
had
like a gray
doors
splotch on the
held,
mirror,
like
and then it
you're
started to
pulling on a
move?
door, and the door's not locked. You
That's
walk
what it
in
looked
and there's
like.
nobody in there.
Because of the recent activity in the bar, suspicious goings on in some of the hotel rooms, a paranormal investigator will be here early next month. And that should be a spirited adventure because she's going to stay in one of these supposedly haunted rooms. In
Bless your
Daytona Beach,
heart.
Volusia County, Claire Metz, West 2 News.
It's so funny. I think it's absolutely required that they have to come up with a little bumper sticker cutie phrase at the end like she just did. But anyway, she did a good job. That's what I saw. Blew my mind. Now, the little girl's running down the hall. Yeah, the gray splotch. You know, exactly like that. And when I saw it, I went, oh my gosh. And it's right by a bar too. This was the gray splotch I told you was on the mirror and would come up and would zoom into the backs of people. I'd be standing behind the bar watching it, trying to dip into the backs of people. And I'm just watching and I'm trying to, it got to some points where I used to guess which one it would crash into, you know, and take over. You know, I actually called it like twice, you know, because you could tell how people are acting. They're beat down. They're easy, low hanging fruit, man. Don't be low hanging fruit. Be good humans. Don't be low hanging fruit. So the little girls, got to show you this Halloween thing. I'm so proud of this because several Gettysburg bashes ago, I'm there and I'm there with my son. You guys, regulars know this story, but it's so worth telling. Let me see if I've got it first before I go bragging and not be able to back it up. Here we go. Let me back it up. I think I have it. Yes, I do. I have it. So here's the thing. We're at the bash. We're at the what the hell was the name of the hotel? So it was a hotel, wasn't an inn. We're down at the end of the hallway, and there's nobody there. There's a small group of people. So imagine a hallway in a hotel, a very large hotel that's got conference rooms. Okay, so this would be the U-shaped hallways that would surround these conference rooms that you could rent. Okay, so we're on the outside of those conference rooms. They're all locked up. All the doors are locked, and it's late. The bars broke down. DJs packed up, leaving, gone, and there's a small group of 6, 7 people that are are making their way down the hallway on the complete other side. And they're talking, and you could definitely hear them. And it echoed up that hall, that empty hall. So it, and the hall is all mirrors, big, I mean, floor to ceiling mirrors. And they zigzag off of each other. So mirrors are portals, and they reflect, they reflect back that energy. And it was wild when you walked down this hallway, and everybody said that there was a weird energy. And I walked down with my son, and right away I saw the mirrors, and I said, well, the reason you're getting that energy is all of this is bouncing off like pinballs, just ricocheting back and forth like a pattern, like one of those wild little games that you get where you let go of the ball and it hits the one next ball, and this one pops up and does that wild stuff back and forth. It was like that with the energy in there. And we're sitting down at the end of the hall, and there's nobody around. And the reason I'm down there is because people have been coming to me all day. Go down that hall, see what you get. Weird feeling. Go down sometime tonight. It's middle of the night. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And see what you get. So my son and I are sitting down at this table, and I've got my dowsing rods. And I'm just reaching out and seeing if anybody's there, and, just talking and seeing what I'm feeling. And I was picking up stuff, but I started to pick up a young female energy. So if I had to give it her an age, I would say 12 to 14, somewhere in there. That's forming like right behind me, like interested, came up, and you could just feel it coming. Lovely light, and I use that word in the meaning of not heavy energy. Okay. And I'm feeling that, and the dowsing rods are reacting, and whatever was going on. And sometime during mid of that, my son gets the idea. I'm pull up my phone and record. We hadn't even discussed doing this before. This was all just organic. Okay. We hadn't prepared or anything. And yes, I do walk around with dowsing rods sometimes. So he hits the button, and at some point in time, I'm asking this question, and I'm starting to pick up on that energy. So I'm kind of directing my questions to that energy. And then I felt another, and it was younger, feminine, also light, not heavy. You see what I mean? And he got this, his first damn EVP ever, the shit. And it's perfect. And a lot of people discount it because you can hear the people, and again, I was there, this happened, and it matched up to what I was feeling. And that's hard to describe to people who weren't there and are not me and didn't feel it, but it happened. So here it is. I'm going to play it. Listen close. This is wild. This is what we got.
Can you tell us your name? Okay. Thank you. Just speak into the recorder, and we'll see if we can get anything back, okay? I would really like to help you. Can you tell me, do you feel stuck here? Yes or no? No. Remember, no is to separate them.
Blew my mind. Did you hear it? Now I'll tell you what happened. I'll play it again. You can hear, without a doubt, the mumbling of the drunk little group that is on the other side of the conference rooms. If you've ever been in a big hotel like this, you know how far away that is. But it is echoing off of the glass, off the back of the hotel, the glass doors, the mirrors, and running down this hall. Absolutely agree. Take that out and listen to the answer to my question. Do you feel stuck? At the point I asked that, when I'm asking thank you, I said thank you and all that, they were crossing. Like, you know, can you tell me your name? Or can you, you know, are you here? Is someone here? And all this. They're crossing and uncrossing. They're reacting to what I'm saying. Okay. And when I asked, are you stuck? The energy behind me that I told you I felt coming up, the older female, you can hear her voice say, no. And the other energy I felt that was a younger female, you can actually hear the inflection in her voice, thinking about it almost. You can hear it. And that's exactly what I was feeling. So it's validating Ricochet. And she says, like, almost like she's shaking her head as she says it, no. So they're not stuck. And that was the feeling I was getting. And the conversation before that, I was saying, I'm feeling that you are not attached to this property. They were kind of coming and going, either attached to I think it was somebody who worked there. You know, like they hung out at her house or something. It was one of those deals. But anyway, they were fine. So we went on about our business and they went about theirs. They had the ability to come and go as they pleased. They didn't need our help. They were good to go. But stopped in just to give us this EVP. Blew my mind. Here it is again. Did you hear it? No. No. It's crazy. First EVP.
Can you tell us your name? Okay. Thank you. Just speak into the recorder and we'll see if we can get anything back, okay? I would really like to help you. Can you tell me, do you feel stuck here? Yes or no? Remember, no is to separate them, and yes is to cross.
No. No. Blew my mind. So there you go. I hope you heard it. Yep. Yeah. She says no right away. She was no. And it wasn't an aggravated. It was just, she just answered me. And right before that, I'll have to analyze that again. That was like about 3 years ago, I think. I'll have to analyze it again because I always think I hear something right before that. And it's not a whole word. It's almost like somebody's going with their mouth. And it's right from where I was feeling that energy. So it was almost like she may have like smacked her lips or something like that, like, or something along those lines. Like she was probably over me. You know, something like that. But, and that was kind of the energy I was getting too. But I don't know if I'm like wanting to hear that or if I'm actually hearing it. So I have to look into it because I don't want to say I do and I don't. So there's that. So anyway, fun night. Thanks for ending my day well. It was kind of a strange energy day for me. I think it's going to be a strange energy day for a lot of us for a little while. So let's keep meeting here on Sunday, Monday. And we'll try to do stuff in the middle of the week like we always do, just to come in here and tap into the energy. And anybody that needs that tonight, I want to send it out to all my friends in Tennessee. I want to send them to all my friends in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Florida that have suffered the past couple of weeks. We cannot forget them. They do have, it seems like most of the places that were receiving donations now are at the point where they can only take new stuff. Now, please don't misunderstand this. They are not being cruel by saying we can't take used stuff, because in some cases, you have to understand, as Bear calls it, and I totally understand where he's coming from when he says it, the smallpox blankets. They don't know where it's coming from. There's a lot of stuff out there, and they have to take that into consideration. Now, you know, and also the ability to wash and clean it and everything else. Now, are they saying we don't want warm coats or anything like that? There are some churches and stuff that are still taking those, and yes, I would say they need them, but people are at the point now, if you're going on your own to donate, I would absolutely call ahead, set up the drop off ahead of time, because I know of several people that have gone out there thinking they were going to take it somewhere and got moved on because they're just full. And that's great. And it's not because they're hoarding, it's because they're at capacity now where almost the people have to come in. If you can come and get it, we'll give it to you. They just don't have the capacity to take it to them. And some places do. So it'll eventually, natural progression of things will happen when the places that can take it by pallet and by helicopter, by, you know, gumbo, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of different ways they're getting stuff up those hills, believe me, and out, to, you know, to further rural places. Then when they're empty, they will be able to take some of the supplies that are sitting longer from these other places and move it through. And then those things will eventually move into, you know, rebuild, you know, and revamp. I'm thinking everybody out there that needs a generator probably has one at this point, heaters of some sort. If not, it's not for the lack of trying at this point, because a lot has been donated, but the need is there, the need for volunteers. But what's happening is you have to be a little bit more, do a little more research. Still donate if you can donate money. Donate to Bear Nation, Bear Independent. I think Appalachian Homestead has moved her stuff over to the one church there in Greenville and Newport. And then there's a couple of other trusted places. But please reconsider if you're considering on donating to a large organization that has been moving on for decades and not really done much. Give it to the boots on the ground that are feeding families, clothing people, continuing and not leaving these towns and communities behind, but are still in there, still trying to get the mud out of everybody's lives and seeing how they can continue on. And most of them are going to restart somewhere else because this place is contaminated to the eyebrows in most places. Water is damaged and is not coming back in some places. And I assure you, my friends, that if trauma creates earthbound situations, we got a lot of souls to help. So I'm asking you to send light that way for the survivors, for the people that are still trying to put their lives back together, and for those that are helping. They all need your light too. We cannot forget them. And we're not even close to being done. Not just there, but all around. When the going gets tough, the warriors stand up. And light warriors we are. We can't let each other drop. And we can't forget what the mission is. And that's to keep the lights on. Okay? I love you all. Thank you. Thank you for being here. See you tomorrow night. We'll continue this. Steve and I were talking about kicking around. We're trying to do some other stuff. Halloween, spooky season's really busy for both of us. And we're trying to put out, you know, do a lot of things at the same time, trying to get through what everybody's getting through. So he was asking me today, I was planning on something else. That one's going to take a little bit more research. So let's just plan on probably continuing this and getting Steve's perspective on some of this. I think some of these stories are pretty good and they're really creating a lot of conversation, and maybe it's good that organic is just flowing. So if spirits need to get a message in there, Maybe you guys needed to hear something. Maybe I needed to hear it. Maybe somebody listening later is going to hear it. So it's that kind of time in the world. So let's just let them use this as a vessel, and if we can have some fun along the way, what's the harm? So anyway, great EVP, fantastic thing. Boy, it's all coming together, isn't it? As far as validating some of my experiences, because you've got that, and you've got that the misty, the little puffet of mist that went, like, again, when I saw it, was like, it just brought it right back. So there we got to share that and had some other good stories. And let's have a little Halloween music on the way out. I love you. See you tomorrow night. And again, thanks for Cabin 22. It was my absolute pleasure to share that with you guys. And there's a lot of people listening on the back end that weren't in the chat, but we had a blast in the chat. And it certainly made my Halloween. And that's coming up real soon. It's Mr. Stockton's birthday. It is Holden's first Halloween and Nick's first Halloween to being a mom of Little Pumpkin. So we wish them lots of love, and everybody out there that needs it. If you need a little light, take a little light. If you can leave a little, leave a little. And I love you. See you tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.
Something about you feels so different. Yeah, you mess me up inside. It's like your energy was kissing my soul back to life, was living. Now it feels like every part of me is died. Yeah, you're gone without a trace. You left me where no one can find me. There's no sign of life out here. I scream and it goes silent. I fight so hard, but I can't find my way out. Lost all dimension and time. All alone, can you losing my mind? And this goes down. Every message that I send you, you just leave them all unread. Now every part of me is hurting. Cross my heart, I don't deserve this. Loved you just for you to haunt me in the end. Yeah, you're gone without a trace. You left me where no one can find me. There's no sign of life out here. I scream and it goes silent. I fight so